This is 7.5 Radio with Walter Yerkew and Peter Scoop Stanton. This is the radio show that will break your neck, if your neck needs breaking. And here are the hosts of 7.5 Radio, Walter Yerkew, star of the biggest documentary movie ever made, The 7.5, and Peter Scoop Stanton, who starred in To Catch a Predator.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, one and all. This is Peter Scoop Stanton with Walter Yerkew on 7.5 Radio. Mike Raybrand is not with us once again tonight. He probably got sick once again from smoking raccoon poop. Anyways, we are red hot rolling. This is Saturday, September the 20th, 2025, approximately 6 minutes after the hour. Walter, how are we doing tonight, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm doing pretty good. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy you're here with us, because this show would really suck if it was just me. Anyways, we want to say hello to all of our special listeners, including Little Billy Keebler and the men and alleged women of the Yanadasas, New York Fire Department, also known as the Cellar Savers. Also, we want to say hello to New York's finest, New York's bravest, New York's boldest, New York's strongest, and those living on Long Island, especially in the 2nd Congressional District. And tonight, first order of business, as always, we want to remember those members of the law enforcement community who were murdered in the line of duty. Tonight, we remember Detective Isaiah Immenheiser, Detective Mark Baker, and Detective Sergeant Cody Becker. All these heroes were with the North York County, Pennsylvania Regional Police Department. End of watch, September 17th, 2025. These officers were ambushed while serving a warrant. Fortunately, the perpetrator is no longer with us. Those still on the job, stay safe, one and all. Anyways, we got a very special show. Every show is special, but we got a lot of things about Charlie Kirk and the left, and it just won't go away. Tomorrow in Arizona is the memorial service for Charlie Kirk. They're expecting 70,000 people. They're playing at the stadium of the Arizona Cardinals, including the president, vice president, and a whole bunch of other VIPs. Anyways, last Sunday I went to the Charlie Kirk Prayer Vigil in Washington, D.C. Our friend Alessandra Griffith, who is a patriot, invited me to this event, and I said, okay, I'll see if I can make it, because I had my kids that weekend, and I have them this weekend. Anyways, I contacted my youngest daughter, who was turned out to be a fan of Charlie Kirk. I said, do you want to go? She's like, okay. So we were on our way. Also, our field producer, Ed Humner, went, and our friend Andre Soriano was also there. But in typical 7.5 Radio fashion, nobody was sitting near each other. So we get to the Kennedy Center, and lots of people there. It looked like a Donald Trump rally. And thousands of people outside lined up, and everybody standing in line, and we made our own line. There's no need for barriers or velvet ropes or those blue sawhorses that we used back in the day as New York's finest. People just stand in line. They're pleasant. They're quiet. They're talkative. Very nice event. There are people of all shapes and sizes. There's some black dude wearing dreads, flying his colors, but those colors from head to toe were red, white, and blue. So we get inside the venue, and it's held a couple thousand people, and my daughter and I, we were the last row of the auditorium. I don't know if they have one or two auditoriums. It didn't look that big. It didn't look the one that they have for the ceremonies with the president show up, the Medal of Freedom ceremonies. So, anyways, we got the Bob Uecker seats, and the place is just absolutely packed. There was even people, members of the Jewish faith there, which really made me go, huh? Because Charlie Kirk was a devout Christian. So we get inside the venue, and it was just like church. I didn't make it to church that Sunday, but I walk in, musicians were playing hymnals. People were standing, they were singing, they were waving their arms, and like they do in Protestant churches, not the Catholic churches. A state representative from Arizona came out and said a prayer, then the Pledge of Allegiance, then the speakers came out. And two ladies who work for Kirk came out first and said that there were 85 members of Congress in the auditorium and members of the White House staff also in the auditorium. And I'm thinking White House staff, probably a bunch of paper pushers, gophers, coffee makers, whatever. And the first person to speak was House Speaker Mike Johnson. I was like, oh, wow. And he gave a nice speech. And the second person to speak was White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. I was like, oh, my God. Those who listen to the show for a while know that we have a special place in our heart for Caroline Leavitt. She did appear on Liberty Roundtable back in February of 2024. She was standing right next to me at CPAC. I tried not to look like a creep, but she gave a rousing speech. And the next person that came out was the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. I was like, oh, my God. She gave a great speech. And then the next speaker was the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. I was like, oh, my God, White House staff. It's like the White House cabinet. And Kennedy came out and gave a great speech. He said he first met Charlie Kirk on his podcast. And when they first started, they were mortal enemies. But at the end of the podcast, RFK Jr. and Kirk were brothers in arms, because the biggest thing they did agree on was individual freedom and freedom of speech, and how the government's looking to take away our rights. So then two other politicians came out talk about how Charlie changed their lives, including what's her name? The lady from Arizona kept losing elections. Carrie Lake. She came out. She was in tears. She knew Kirk personally. Her daughter worked for Turning Point USA. And she said, my daughter left Turning Point USA because she took Charlie Kirk's advice, which was get married and start a family, which the younger Lake is, I guess, is doing. So anyways, it felt like a real church service. It was very inspirational. I got more out of this ceremony than I did typical Sunday at the Catholic Church. And then afterwards, I dropped my daughter off, and then I met field producer Ed Hubner at a local establishment for some wings and some karaoke. And Ed was belting out a great tune. But overall, it was a very, very inspiring ceremony. Very well put together. It was put together just like at the drop of a hat. Everybody there was just in tears, very emotional. And for me, it was a special moment. Not only I was there, with all, celebrating the life of Charlie Kirk, paying respects to a colleague, even though it was much bigger than us. But the simple fact I'm with my daughter, and we're in the same room as some of the most powerful people in the United States. And unlike any leftist thing, nobody was calling for any violence. They did take jabs at the left, but good-hearted jabs. No blue-haired people, no trannies, none of the garbage you see at leftist functions. No fatsos, no peg hats. Very, very respectful. Again, it was just like church. So it was a great event. I'm glad I went, but unfortunately I went because we did lose Charlie last week. Walt, what say you about attending this once-in-a-lifetime prayer vigil?
Well, that's a great thing for you to experience, especially with your daughter, and that's something she'll never forget. And you neither. You don't forget it either. I mean, like you said, you had some of the most powerful and influential people in the United States, if not around the globe, were in attendance and speaking about Charlie. I saw some of it, and Bobby Kennedy I thought he gave a really good heart to the point eulogy of Charlie. And there were so many people week before this past Wednesday that didn't know much about him, and unfortunately from the left they're hearing negative things about him, which, there wasn't much negative about Charlie, if anything. And, he's another person that every living soul on the face of the planet heard of by last Wednesday night, and what he stood for. And a lot of people didn't believe in the things he said, and that's fine. That's fine.
Right. And when we come back, we'll talk about the doxing from the left and now the right. Also, Jimmy Kimmel was fired as well as other people, and should he have been fired? And Walter and I will debate about that and other stuff. Stay tuned, everybody. This is 75 Radio on Liberty News Radio Network.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
Scott Bradley here. Most Americans are painfully aware that the nation is on the wrong track and in dire straits. Unfortunately, most political pundits only nibble around the edges when they claim to address the issues. Even worse, many of the so-called solutions are simply rewarmed servings of what got us into the mess we currently face. And the politicians think we're so gullible and naive that we'll buy their lies that they have reformed and now understand where they led us astray. Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is that they simply wish to continue to hold power. The solution to America's challenges is found in returning to the timeless principles found in the United States Constitution. My book and lecture series will reawaken in Americans an understanding and love of the principles which made this nation the freest, most prosperous, happiest, and most respected nation on earth. Visit topreservethenation.com and order my book and lectures to begin the restoration of this great nation.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
You're back, and Scoop is just getting done staring at Danila's Instagram account. Here's more 7.5 Radio.
And we are back. Scoop Stanton with Walter Yerkew talking about Charlie Kirk and the national debate that's going on. I'm going to read three names, Walt, see if you can decide what they have in common. Sean Bergen, Anthony Cumia, and Roseanne Barr. What do they all have in common?
They're all men?
Not quite. The three people I just mentioned, our buddy Sean Bergen, Anthony Cumia, who's a radio legend, also a guest on the Political Cesspool, and Roseanne Barr, a comedy legend, were all canceled. Bergen was probably the first person to be the victim of cancel culture, followed shortly by Anthony Cumia back in 2014. Anyways, for the past 10, 15 years, people on the left have been canceling people on the right, people they don't agree with. And now it's come to a point where people on the left were finding out information, looking them up on Google or whatever search engine, and then contacting their employers, say, hey, Scoop Stanton said this horrible thing. What are you going to do about it? And then luckily my employer, D&G Collections, LLC, said nothing because collection agents are some of the scummiest people in the world. But anyways, you have people that do have families, do have bills, and they put something on social media that the left doesn't like, and they subsequently get fired. But now we've gone full circle. So with this, with the murder of Charlie Kirk, we have people on the left celebrating Charlie's demise. We have people absolutely saying horrendous things about Kirk, his wife, his children, Turning Point USA, people, the rest of the Kirk family, everybody on the right. And so then we're getting revenge by doxing these people. A number of teachers got fired. A number of people in the healthcare industry got fired. A whole bunch of people got fired because of what they posted on social media. Now, my thing is that people should not get fired for what they post. Now, that brings us to Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel said some things about Charlie Kirk. He said the guy that murdered Charlie Kirk was a Trump supporter, which is absolutely 100% false. That's 100% fake news. That's a crystal clear example of fake news. So then Nexstar Media, which owns a number of ABC stations in big markets, and then followed by Sinclair Broadcasting, which also owns a number of stations in major markets, decided not to carry the Jimmy Kimmel show on late night. So then ABC decided to cancel Jimmy Kimmel. Now, of course, Kimmel's mad because he's no longer receiving a paycheck. But again, my thing is that Kimmel has the right to say things no matter how awful they are. Now, if Kimmel or anyone else decides to threaten people with bodily harm, threaten their families, or threaten to burn down their house or any other criminal activity, that's a different story. But I wish America would stop being a bunch of crybabies. If somebody says something that you don't like, either debate them or turn the channel or scroll up to something else. You don't have to sit there and go do research and get these people fired from jobs. But anyways, Walter, do you think Jimmy Kimmel should have been fired from ABC?
Well, we talk about freedom of speech all the time. And freedom of speech is very, very broad. Okay, and there are specifics where you can say things that doesn't cover free speech, and we all know what they are. Screaming fire, screaming robbery, when nothing's happening like that. However, you know me, I'm the type of guy. If I don't agree with what you're saying, I will stand behind you that you have the right to say it. Okay. In this instance, Jimmy Kimmel has the right to say it if he wasn't under contract and signed the contract with moral tendencies in it. And pretty much these days, any kind of contract you sign for a lot of money, to get paid a lot of money, doesn't matter if you're an entertainer, you're a sports figure, evangelist, it doesn't matter. You sign a contract that you are going to be morally okay. And ABC, NBC felt that he crossed the line, and they fired him. It's just like if you were working at McDonald's and you told the boss, she has nice boobs. The boss would fire you. Okay, it's the same thing. He works in the private sector. He may be a public figure, but he's being paid by a private sector. He's not government. He's not being paid by taxpayer dollars. So he deserves to be fired as long as his bosses feel that he should be deserved to be fired. Do I agree with it? Yeah, absolutely. He crossed the line. Other people get fired for saying the N-word. Do I agree with it? Not in all the cases. Sometimes they bring up cases that are 30 years old. They said the N-word in 1968, and they fire them. They don't play Ethel Merman's God Bless America at Yankee Stadium because she recorded a song in the 40s using the term darkies. That's ridiculous. But if you're talking about an entire culture, which is, the right, that this murderous scumbag is part of that right, and it's not, he's pretty much saying that the Republicans are the one knocking down the Democrats, not the other way around. And the things that people are saying about Charlie Kirk, God forbid they said anything about that about George Young Floyd out there, 5 years ago. God forbid anybody said anything about Martin Luther King getting whacked, in 68. God forbid anybody said anything about those guys. The heads would roll, so to speak. But it seems that, Mr. Kirk's demise, being murdered, assassinated, is open game. And some people are just stupid. There's no other word to describe what they're thinking. Glad that he's dead, that's because you wouldn't stand in front of him and debate with him or have a conversation with him. That's why you're glad he's dead. Because you don't have the hair on your ass to stand up for what you believe in, even if he doesn't agree with it. And he didn't make fun of people at all. He let them put their own rope out there and wrap it around their neck and string themselves up. And 99 times out of 100, that's what people did that went in front of him. The man was so knowledgeable, and nobody's taken any of that into consideration. But yeah, Jimmy Kimmel should have been fired a long time ago. Colbert is going. Is Jimmy Fallon next? I believe that if you work for an employer and the employer does not like what you say or do, they can let you go. They can let them go without reason. It just so happens that people on the left are trying to coincide what Mr. Trump may say, in jest, and they're taking that he must have called somebody at ABC to get Kimmel fired. Hell, if he had the juice to do that, he would have done it in 2017, 18, and 19. You see, so enough was enough. Period. And as far as Jimmy Kimmel being unemployed, he can go apply for unemployment. He's entitled to it, but he's worth about $40 million, so he really doesn't have to worry about getting back on TV. These are people that just want to be in front of others that believe in what they say, so they can hear cheers and applause. Period.
Well, that's very well put. But anyways, it wasn't Ethel Merman that song "God Bless America." It was Kate Smith. But anyways, you brought up a good. That's all right. But you brought up a good point. But Jimmy, if at McDonald's I told a coworker, or here at Sun 5 Radio, if I told Danila she had nice boobs, that's very inappropriate. That's just sexual harassment, not just. But in terms of Kimmel, he was just giving his opinion. And, I think that is very important. Even with ABC, he might be wrong as the day is long. But I think ABC has the duty to, give Kimmel that platform. Now, if Kimmel comes out and if off air he's going around sex harassing people, of course he should be given the heave ho. And in terms of people, but you also bring up a good point. People getting fired for saying the N-word. People should not get fired for saying the N-word, but people do get fired for saying the N-word. Whereas, certain people get fired for saying the N-word. Because, say me and Snoop Dogg are doing a TV show together. We're the new late night on ABC. So if he says the N-word, nothing. Where if I say the N-word or quote one of his songs, then I'll get fired. But I do think that it's so important for the First Amendment because, honestly, I think the First Amendment is free speech is going away. It's not due to government intervention. But anyways, we come back. We'll get Mike's take on everything. He's getting over his illness, smoking raccoon poop. This is 7.5 Radio on Liberty News Radio Network. Take it away, boys.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Mary Rose. President Trump's son Eric says it's hard to fathom the impact Charlie Kirk has made on American politics.
Built one of the greatest youth political movements in history, probably the greatest youth political movements, and then somebody dressed in all black sits on top of a roof with a rifle, while calling him a fascist for exercising free speech, and and kills a dear friend of ours, and it's absolutely heartbreaking.
Former California Republican Congressman John Campbell tells the Salem Radio Network the death of Charlie Kirk will have historical implications.
This will be something like, for those of us of an age, when you heard JFK had been assassinated, when the Challenger crash happened, when you heard that, and when you heard about 9/11. This is going to be one of those moments.
President Trump will meet with China's leader in South Korea next month. White House correspondent Greg Cluxton reports.
Following a 2-hour phone call with Chinese President Xi Jinping, the president announced he will meet with Xi in South Korea in late October and will visit China early next year. Writing on his social media platform, the president said Xi would come to the United States at an appropriate time. He also said they made progress on approving a TikTok deal to allow the popular social media app to keep operating in the U.S. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The Arizona Department of Public Safety is releasing the name of the man detained by the Secret Service at State Farm Stadium ahead of Charlie Kirk's memorial service. The suspect has been identified as 42-year-old Joshua Runkles. He has been charged with impersonating a law enforcement officer, which is a felony, and carrying a weapon into a prohibited place, which is a misdemeanor. A DPS spokesperson says Runkles has been released on bond as the investigation continues. More on these stories at townhall.com.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting outside, getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pains, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your life. Head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 800-4RELIEF and get their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. Relief Factor is the daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by a team of doctors, it uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask the pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take Relief Factor, the more effective it is to get your days going without any pain. See if we get you out of pain by taking their 3-week quick start. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Simply call 800-4RELIEF. 800-4RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, neck, shoulders, hips, knees, don't let it keep you from living the life you want to live. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF.
Why don't we say to the government writ large that they have to spend a little bit less? Anybody ever had less money this year than you had last? Anybody ever having a 1% pay cut? You deal with it. That's what government needs, a 1% pay cut. If you take a 1% pay cut across the board, you have more than enough money to actually pay for the disaster relief. But nobody's going to do that because they're fiscally irresponsible. Who are they? Republicans. Who are they? Democrats. Who are they? Virtually the whole body is careless and reckless with your money. So the money will not be offset by cuts anywhere. The money will be added to the debt, and there will be a day of reckoning. What's the day of reckoning? The day of reckoning may well be the collapse of the stock market. The day of reckoning may be the collapse of the dollar. When it comes, I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you it has happened repeatedly in history when countries ruin their currency.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement, how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at CSPOA.org. That's CSPOA.org.
Get ready to be part of something incredible. We're breaking barriers and delivering the powerful stories that mainstream media won't touch. Your support is what fuels our mission to revolutionize journalism and bring you the truth. Join our passionate community of changemakers by donating at libertynewsradio.com today. Together, we're creating the future of news.
Wow, you're still listening? Here's more 7.5 Radio.
And we are back. Scoop Stanton with Walter Yerkew. Do we have Mike Rigbrandt on the horn? I guess not. Anyways, we had a great discussion before the news about should Jimmy Kimmel be fired or should Jimmy Kimmel not be fired. Another thing that really scares me about this whole thing about free speech is that Attorney General Pam Bondi was talking about going after people for quote-unquote hate speech. This is really, again, dangerous because unless somebody is threatening physical harm, harassment, or some other criminal activity, that speech is protected and should be protected. Unless, like, in the days of, like, you know, the KKK burning crosses in somebody's front yard and going after them or shouting racial epithets is long, long gone. But my thing is that we're becoming a nation of crybabies. And since we get offended and we want everybody fired or everybody to lose their livelihood for saying something we don't agree with, we becoming a nation of crybabies, and that's already causing people not to say what's ever on their mind, no matter how awful it is. That's why comedians are getting canceled. Clubs won't book certain comedians because of their contents or which way the spectrum they go, either left or right. The movies that you see, they don't go after certain subjects. Now all the terrorists are like a bunch of European white men or homegrown terrorism. They won't since China owns the Hollywood, you'll never see Chinese bad guys. It'll be North Koreans or some other Asian or once again, the Europeans. But, well, let me ask you this. Do you think that free speech is starting to erode slowly?
I see people want it to be eroded to a certain point. Like, you brought up Pam Bondi's thing about hate speech. It's okay to hate somebody because they're black or they're white or they're green or they're orange or because they're the president. Hate speech is, sticks and stones. Excuse me. And that's what it is, sticks and stones. You could be walking down the street and stand on the corner and, somebody could call a cop on you and say, this guy's been standing out there for 20 minutes. And that's highly unusual for anybody to stand there for that long. And they'll come over and the cops will come and start talking to you that they got a complaint. Well, so what? So what? What's the big deal? Is it punishable by crime? By time? What are you going to do? It's still a free country. And this hate speech thing is not going to go far. And hopefully the stand that is being taken, and it's got to be a personal stand. You don't want to speak to annoy anybody. Which would be, like following them around and calling them, cracker, I could say that word, right? And, following them around and annoying them, then free speech ceases to exist. Then it becomes a harassment. But if I'm standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona, and I'm on a soapbox, I decide I want to wear a sign that Bruce Willis wore, in the second Die Hard movie, on a street corner. Sorry, all right, whatever. I could do that. I could do that. And if those people are offended by it. Well, get over it. I mean, it's not something I would do, but get over it. They could stand on a corner on Park Avenue and wear the opposite. And I hate crackers. Yeah, probably 95% of the people on Park Avenue ain't going to know what that means, but the ones that do, if they get upset by it, well, too bad. Too bad, white bread America. So what? So the hate speech thing is not going to go very far. I think she's wasting a lot of time talking about stuff instead of doing something. Pam Bondi, there's plenty of cases out there that she can oversee and overlook and even try herself. And I don't see that happening, up there in the AG's office. I see everybody else working, especially the fella that's now in charge of the Charlie Kirk's murder. I don't see Pam Bondi taking an interest in anything but being on television. So, let's get the ball rolling, sweetie. Let's move it along and start dealing with real crime.
Right. I could say any better myself, but it seems like Pam Bondi is just trying out to be the next personality on Fox. But back to the hate speech real quick. It's still something it's still in the back of my mind, always will be in the back of my mind, because if you remember back in the days of the Clinton administration, they tried to get the fair speech, there's a bill that they try to pass on radio, the something doctrine, where if you had as many, for every 1 hour of conservative viewpoint, you need to put 1 hour of liberal viewpoint. But luckily, that passed. Correction, that did not pass, and that was killed. No, free speech doctrine, I think they called it, which is Orwellian in itself. And it's because the problem was there's not enough liberal talk show hosts. You had Air America, which just totally bombed, went nowhere. And NPR is hanging by a thread since they got defunded, thankfully. So we're not paying tax money to compete against ourselves. But again, right now we have a Republican administration that we got great people in the Department of Justice that's doing great things. But on the flip side, if Gavin Newsom or whoever the next Democrat comes in, guess what? They might go after free speech, i.e. us. So we're treading on a very, very thin line when we're going after hate speech, because who hates it? Is it somebody on the left, somebody on the right, somebody doesn't care? What makes it hate speech, and how is hate speech how does that go against the First Amendment? Unless, again, you're talking about criminal activity, talking about harassment, talking about threats against somebody. But anyways, with everything being said, everything that's been going on with Charlie Kirk, I said, I can't do this anymore, and that's why I posted that I want to move back to Yanadasas, even though it's just actually desolate. You got Billy Keebler in the fire department saving sellers, but it's a way to get away from it all, because I'm not, I can turn off Twitter, I can turn off Facebook, I can turn off the television, I can turn off the radio, but here's the thing. Down here in D.C. or every other major American city, I can't get away from the blue-haired people with the nose rings. I can't get away from the smell of weed and piss in the city streets. I can't get away from the junkies panhandling in the streets. I can't get away from the bums sleeping in the streets because they're passed out drunk. I can't get away from the parks where you got legal aliens sexually assaulting females, and I can't get away from old liberal ladies holding signs for the lieutenant governor saying, if trans people can't share your bathroom, then blacks can't share my water fountain. Can't get away from that down here. But if I move up there, yes, I could, because there's nobody in the middle of the street panhandling for money to buy more dope. You don't have the stores aren't behind bullet-resistant glass. You don't need to get a coupon to buy Tide. You don't have people panhandling in front of a store. You don't have people selling their EBT benefits to buy food. Everybody speaks English, and the best part is that if you want to eat, you got to work. Because if you don't eat, if you don't work, you don't eat. Now, Walt, in your little section of corner of the earth, is it like that over there, where you don't have blue-haired people screaming for trainees in the bathrooms and junkies panhandling on the sidewalk?
We'll have to come back to that, won't we?
All right, we'll be right back, people.
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an Immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began. Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
This is 7.5 Radio with Walter Yuku. Walter Yurkow. Walter Kiwi. Here's Walton Scoop.
Anyways, during those very important commercials, I was doing my due diligence and looking at the Instagram account of our spokesmodel, the lovely Danila Rodrigues. Check her out at DanilaRodrigues.model on Instagram. That's DanilaRodrigues.model on Instagram. And speaking of the lovely Danila, she was up at Yanadasas to meet the family. But anyways, I was talking about how I want to go back home, bring my kids home, get away from all the garbage that I have to deal with here in Washington, D.C. and every other major American city. But in your corner of the world, is it like what I described, just peaceful and quiet, or is it you got bums in the street and blue-haired old ladies?
We live in 2 different types of cultures. I live outside of Chattanooga. Chattanooga is, the main city down here in southeastern Tennessee. Nashville is, 100 miles, 120 miles to the north and west. However, They have these issues in Chattanooga. I read the local news and such, and there are issues, with the homeless and, in parks, where they find needles and, public restrooms where, the trannies are doing what they do. And, it's there. It's not as pronounced, I guess, as it is, would be in Washington or New York City. I remember that when I was a kid. 60 years ago, I remember, bum sleeping on the streets in New York. So it's not anything new, homeless and such. So, but where I am, no. Where I am, the only thing I have to worry about is raccoons getting into the trash cans. So, which is fine. But they have the blue-haired nonsense. If I have to go up into Nashville, for an appointment or such, you see them, and of course they pretty much walk around, with their noses up in the air, looking down on everybody, unless you're wearing a rainbow ribbon or you got some kind of colorful string coming out of your hair, or eye rings, nose rings, what do they call that? Bull rings in your nose and neck. They don't look at you if you look normal. What, quote unquote, what we know normal to be. How about traditional? I don't have to smell, weed and piss like you do, or step over, homeless, when I'm walking, down my driveway or anything. And if there was, I'd probably just drag him and drop him in the creek.
Nice.
So, I don't have that, and that's on purpose. That's on purpose.
Right.
It makes my life peaceful. And I said this, when I was younger, and I'll stick to it. If you don't like where you live, move.
Right.
Or know where to go to avoid the nonsense. If you're going to be there. Don't tell me that Eastern New York, somebody would say, my son got killed, by drug dealers and such. And he was such a nice boy, but, he's in the element. It's going to happen. As a parent should know better. Move or teach your kid better. It starts at home, doesn't it? White bread America just looks the other way. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to know about it. They don't want to see it, and they're oblivious to what happens. And God forbid they walk across or get, break down and an African American stops to help them. Man, they nearly crap their pants because they just don't know. They just don't know. So, we have to come to some semblance of normalcy. And I keep saying this, it's not going to be in my lifetime. It's not.
Right.
The only thing the only thing we could do is make sure our kids are ready for it, and beware of the people bringing, joy and cheer. Always be leery of people bringing gifts of normalcy.
Right. On that note, I've noticed that here in D.C. and the surrounding areas, you got these people panhandling in the intersections. But how come these people, you don't see them at night? You don't see them when it rains. You don't see them when it snows. It's only when it's good weather during daylight hours. I mean, why is that?
Where are they?
Right.
Like
they
the
collect
people
it
at Walmart in the parking lot, have a family, can you help with money? Can you help with food? But you don't see them there every day. And like you said, they're not there at night. They're not there in bad weather. So, where are they? They're going somewhere.
Right. They're jumping into the late model SUV and going to their nice homes, not mine. But that's another story. And folks, do not, I repeat, do not give these people any money because they're scammers. They're buying booze, they're buying dope, and these people live better than you and I. Anyways, our last story talks about loyalty. New York Governor Kathy Hochul endorsed Zoran Mamdani for New York City mayor. And what's funny is that Kathy Hochul got her start in New York state politics when her former boss, Andrew Cuomo, asked her to run as lieutenant governor, and she became lieutenant governor thanks to Andrew Cuomo, and also she became governor of New York State thanks to Andrew Cuomo. So since Andrew Cuomo is a Democrat sex fiend, he's running for New York City mayor, just like Andrew Weiner. But instead of endorsing her former boss as gratitude, thanks for giving me my career, thanks for making me the lieutenant governor of the state of New York. Nope, she's going to endorse the socialist because next year she's got to run for re-election, and she hopes that she gets Mamdani's endorsement. Well, what say you about Hochul's dissing her old boss?
Well, who knows? Maybe they had some kind of falling out, up there in Albany, some years ago, and you never know what goes on behind closed doors. So that's my thing. He may have screwed her over, or she screwed him over, one way or another. There's some bad blood there, and that's probably why. The saying. You step on toes, going up the ladder, and when you're at the top, people that were trying to hold you back, you kick back, and maybe that's what she's doing. So. Got to be something, and of course she's not going to back a guy that had to resign from the New York State governorship, for sex scandals. So she don't want that little. I guess outweighing it, or weighing it out, she felt that she'd rather have a scratch or two from Mamdani than having scars from Cuomo.
Oh,
it's just one of the things, damned if you do and damned if you don't. So,
right.
She picked the lesser of two evils, in my eyes, is what I think.
Right, but for me, I just, so much, it's like she has no loyalty. Like, I was in a bad marriage for almost 2 decades because I was loyal. Try to keep the family unit together. You and I have been together for 7 years. We've been on this network for 7 years. The Cesspool's been on for over a decade. I've been with the Cesspool for 20 years, and we're not going anywhere because we love the people that we do this with. That's why we call each other family. So to me, for Kathy Hochul not endorsing Andrew Cuomo, just a slap in the face to Cuomo. But then again, he probably slapped her in the behind. So, anyways, whoever wins the New York City mayor's race, we all lose because they're going to. Just like California, what happens in New York, this rest of the state will follow. But anyways, we got a couple minutes left. Real quick, take a look. Go on 75radio.org. That's 75radio.org. Kash Patel absolutely eviscerated the Democrats when he was testifying on the Senate Judiciary Committee. And I couldn't even give Walter the last word. Anyways, for Walter Yerkew, this is Peter Scoop Stanton reminding you, you can make a difference. Go out and make it. See you next week, everybody.
Edwards for 7-5 Radio. For those who work the streets and the jails, thanks for keeping us safe. So long, everybody.